What is going on, guys? We are back. Welcome to the Sunday Scan. This is going to be for the week of November 7th, 2022. Hopefully you guys all had a fantastic weekend, guys. Very happy to be back on the Sunday Scan. I know we have a ton of new people in the room. So first off, I do want to just kind of welcome everybody. First off, very happy to have you in the room for the month of November, guys. I wanted to go ahead and, kind of divulge what this is every week. We're going to do a Sunday video that's going to come out every Sunday afternoon for you guys. This is going to lay out a full game plan, my full game plan for the week ahead, what I'm going to be looking at, the levels I'm going to be watching, the trigger points I'm going to be watching, trade ideas, macro events, all that kind of good stuff, guys, and all that necessary prep for the week ahead. If you guys know me well, you know that Sundays are integral to my trading process. I believe that Sundays and doing some type of Sunday scan every week is one of the most powerful tools that you can use for your trading. And obviously, I think having that preparation coming into the week ahead, guys, is just absolutely critical. So this is a big part of my week every week. The reason that I started doing these videos is because of the fact of how much this helped me in my preparation for the week ahead. It made just a tremendous difference. So if anything, guys, I highly suggest you at least watch my scan or do some type of your own scan, whether you're using mine to kind of guide you. That's what I really did. I started off with some type of Sunday scan every single week, and it was so helpful inside my trading career. So again, guys, that we're going to do this every single Sunday. I'm going to post the video on the private Twitter. You guys can go ahead and watch it. And like I said, I think it'll be really helpful for you guys. So again, very excited to have you guys in the room. Very excited to have you here for the Sunday Scan and for the first Sunday Scan of November. So like I said, guys, I quickly do want to get a couple of things in terms of housekeeping items out of the way. So book winners. First off, under this video, I'm going to put the book winners for October in the description, guys. You guys can go ahead and go in the description. If your name is picked to win, you will win one of those free books. We will ship those out later this week. Don't forget to go ahead and DM LD Trades on Discord or on Twitter and let him know. Again, he's our Discord VP, so he handles a lot of those back-end type of items and some of those administrative things. So don't forget, if you have any questions, if you're still not able to access the private Twitter maybe, or you're having trouble with the Discord or anything like that, make sure you go through and look at those frequently asked questions, watch the welcome video, and if you're still having questions, just go ahead and DM Trades LD, and he will help you out. So housekeeping item there. If you still haven't commented your username on the pin post on Patreon, that's how you're going to get in the private Twitter, and don't forget to do that if you haven't already. One last thing, the A+ setup signs. I did a giveaway about 2 months ago. These took about 8 weeks to get made, guys. They are finally on the way, so those will be in this week. I know 2 people won those. They will be here soon. Don't sleep too long, right? They will be in. So I know they're an awesome addition to the office, and I know you guys are definitely excited to get those. I apologize for the wait time. Trying to find a supplier that will make them quicker than that, but here we are, right? So again, those are kind of the housekeeping items. Don't forget, D-Book will be starting the 2K account challenge this week. I know he's really excited to start that on Monday. He was trying to give some people some time to get in the room a little bit and kind of get ready for that, but he's going to be starting that this week. I'm very excited about that. I'm going to be tailing all of the entries, don't worry. And then, like I said, guys, I'll be continuing to trade the 25K account, which we started last month. It is now at 34,000 at last check, 35,000. So I'm very excited to continue to do that. Like I said, guys, it's been definitely October was a slower month for me. Still fantastic returns, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of kind of back and forth and chop in the P&L overall. A lot of really great days. But in this market, guys, it is just all about adjustments, and we've talked about that. And it's a tough market. You have to be constantly adapting. It can be difficult to kind of get steady continuation on things. So like I said, guys, November, we have a huge week in front of us. We have the midterm elections coming up, and we have CPI this week. 2 major catalysts, guys, and I definitely think there's going to be no shortage of A+ opportunities this week, and so we're going to dive into all of it on Scan, like I mentioned. But don't forget that CPI, that pre-CPI chop is real, guys. So early on in the week, it's going to be really waiting for those A+ setups and making sure those trade opportunities are there and are going to provide smooth continuation, because the last thing that I like to do is force things. So we may need to wait to get that CPI print before really seeing that kind of continuation and trend really form, right? So that's a big one. Like I said, one last thing, Obviously, you guys know I do trade the growth tickers a lot. They are kind of my bread and butter. Those are the stocks I really know the best in terms of the tape. However, guys, like I tweeted on Friday, my focus coming into the week, at least at the start of this week, is going to be a little bit more focused on the QQQ, on the Qs, on SPY, on Tesla, just because we're not seeing that continuation in those growth names really right now, especially on that upside, right? We're getting some nice moves, but really there's been a lack of continuation. Hood and SQ come to mind as examples on Thursday and Friday. I really kind of would have liked those moves to continue more. And like I said, coming into this week, at least, I'm going to be a little bit more focused on some of those mega cap names. I think they're going to provide some really nice opportunities this week. But as mentioned, I will always have those tickers included in the watch list and trade plans. But like I said, coming into this week, my focus will be a little bit more centered on those names. So just wanted to kind of mention that. And then, like I said, we have a huge week in front of us, guys. Remember that understanding the catalysts that are in front of you on the macro side is an integral part of that trading every single week. So like I said, CPI coming this week, midterms are going to be huge. And like I said, just those go into the preparation. No matter if it's CPI, FOMC, etc., we have to make sure that those catalysts are paid attention to. So let's go ahead and hop into it. We're going to go ahead and start with the S&P 500, guys. We have the daily chart up if you are following along. Like I said, guys, on Friday, we saw a lot of early pressure towards this 370 level, right? We saw this daily candle on the S&P. We know that this 370 level has been the key level, right? Since really this push down in late September, guys, we had a lot of trouble getting back over that 370 spot, right? Through early October, the middle of October. And then, like I said, this 370 area has really kind of been a line in the sand, right? And we have really strong resistance at 380 and really strong resistance at 390. So that 390 level has kind of been that major line in the sand for a very long time now, right? So 390 is going to be really important to pay attention to as we continue on, not just this week, not just next week, but those weeks following as well. That 390 area is really, really critical. So I'm going to be watching that very closely. The real thing that I took out of Friday, guys, is we saw a lot of carnage among the growth names, right? So think about it. Twilio, Carvana, both down 35% on Friday. And like I said, guys, we're seeing kind of the unwind of that massive kind of QE liquidity bubble that we've talked about, right? And we talked about how a lot of these names were seriously inflated, right? And no pun to inflation there, but Carvana was at 400, right? It's now at 8. That is just, it's kind of like a poster child for what has happened in the market over the past couple of years. And you are seeing the non-quality names really start to unwind. And that's definitely hurting a decent amount of people, right? It's not like these stocks were just barren with investors. There's people in these stocks. Then when you see stocks make moves like that, you see it leak over because fear starts to take over. People start selling other names because they don't want to see that happen to those investments, etc. Right? So it's important to understand that dynamic, guys. And like I said, it's just something you have to pay attention to. Now, after that pressure on Friday, right, we still really defended that 370 level, right? I don't know if that was, kind of protecting that level, right? Market makers protecting 370 because of the exposure below it in terms of the options. But we did bounce pretty convincingly, and we actually closed over that key 375 level. Coming into Monday, this is going to be the key area that I'm going to be watching into this 375 zone. And then obviously our high of the day from Friday is going to be a key for me at that 378.87 into that 380 resistance area, right? So those are going to be two levels I'm watching very closely on Monday. Sorry, guys, quick intermission there. Like I said, those are going to be really the three key areas that I am paying attention to as far as my key levels. If we see a move down below 375.13 into that 375 support area, that's where I'm going to be looking to more short side bias down to 370. And then as far as the upside is concerned, really I'm going to want to wait to see a move over that 378 resistance area, which we struggled with on Friday, right? D-Book put out a nice tweet on his main about this, and this is going to be something we really need to watch, is that 378 to 380 area is going to be really critical coming into this week. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on the broader S&P 500. Again, the daily chart, this is where, I do take a little bit of, if I was to have any type of bias coming into this week, it would be a tiny bit to the long side. Midterms, historically, stronger week. I do think we have a really nice short opportunity that sets up after midterms on some of these broader mega cap tech names. But again, this daily candle on Friday has that long wick down towards that 370 level, and then it pushed up into the close, right? So stronger close on Friday, guys, and that's definitely something we want to pay attention to, as that can kind of lead into our Monday. Sorry about that, guys. Trying to get the sound right. Now, again, the big thing that I keep kind of referencing, right, is not only did we see that candle print on SPY, but we saw it print on the Qs, right? The Qs tested that major area, right, which is our low from the CPI day in October, and then we have this long wick down, right? So we will have to see if the Qs can rebound, right? I've talked about this again, but valuations have not completely reset in names like Amazon and names like Google and names like Apple, right? We've seen that strong selling volume inside the Qs, and that's something you have to keep in mind. That's why these long side trades, even in the mid and growth names, even if they are stronger, seeing continuation is going to require the Qs to be a little bit stronger than they are right now. So it's really important to kind of wait for that before jumping headfirst into those long side setups, especially on larger time frame breakouts like daily and weekly names, right? We have to keep that in mind that the Qs have been incredibly weak as of late. Now, the key level on the Qs that I'm going to be watching this week is going to be this 265.50 level. We closed right at it on Friday, 264.68. So right in this kind of $1 zone that I really want to pay attention to. I'm going to be watching this area very closely on Monday. And like I said, that 265 level is really going to be kind of a bias level for me as we head into the week. If the Qs are over that, I think that could present some nice opportunities. If we really give that level back, right, then we'll start to see kind of that pull down. Now, the big thing I do want to mention, we talk about relative volume all the time, guys. We have definitely seen, right, stronger daily sell volume on the Qs, and that's obviously reflected in the price action we're seeing. But I did want to kind of mention that and preface with that like I said, paying attention to the Qs right now is very important. This is a type of market where if I'm going to play puts on the downside, I'm going to be looking at the Qs over the S&P just because it is more highly concentrated in that mega cap tech arena, which is where we have seen continued downside, obviously, opportunities and continued overall relative weakness. So just keep that in mind going into this week, guys. The next key area that I'll pay attention to on the upside is going to be this 266.90 area into this 267 zone. If we see a further flush to the downside, obviously that first target would be the 254.89 area, which is that big green candle from that CPI day in October, which printed some of the biggest volume we've seen, 113.5 million shares. So, like I said, guys, going into this week, first off, on the Sunday scan, the first name that I'm going to cover individual-wise is going to be any type of weekend exposure I have. Oftentimes, I'll take a swing on a weekly candle or daily candle often. SQ is the name that I took this week. Reason being, we printed a massive daily volume candle, guys, in terms of volume. Look at the volume on this daily candle. 45 million shares. I want to actually be exact about this. 44.5 million share candle on the daily, guys. That is about, 5 times our average, right, in between 9 to 10 million shares. And we are pushing towards this major resistance area, right? If we look at the weekly chart on SQ, guys, long wick down right to that 51 level, and then we pushed up into this 63 resistance area. I did overnight some out-of-the-money SQ calls for this week. I think if we see a strong open on Monday, which I wouldn't be surprised to see off this weekly candle, then we could see a move towards that 70 level rather quickly. If we look at the daily chart here on SQ, guys, obviously we had buyer in the tape, heavily on Friday. There was some games at the end of the day. I don't know if you guys saw, but if you look at the 5-minute, you can see that they actually closed SQ under 60 right at the end of the day because they wanted to get those $60 calls out of the money. Likely there was a lot of exposure there with earnings. But like I said, guys, should we see a reclaim of the 63.70 support, which has been a major weekly support for SQ. Last time it bounced from this area, it went to 93. It bounced again from this 63.74 area and went to the 76 level. And then after that, right, we're now seeing major resistance at this level. So that's how you really identify not just a key level, but a ultra important level on those larger time frames, guys, is look at the past price action off of that level, right? In that case, we've seen multiple times where it's bounced 25, 30, 35% off that area, right? I mean, it went 63 to 93 and then 63 up to that 76 level. If we can reclaim that level early this week, I would not be surprised to see a move to 70 to 72. That's the next kind of major area on that weekly chart, and that would be a huge move on those premiums. So watching closely there as we head into the early part of this week. I'm not planning to give that trade much room to kind of go against me. I'm going to keep my stop very tight there. But like I said, I did take some overnight calls there. I think if we open strong on Monday, those should pop nicely. So again, I don't hold those weekend swings long. It's usually kind of a sell within the first 5 to 10, maybe even 15-minute candle on Monday, depending on how we open. But like I said, off of this past weekly candle, I do like the upside potential on SQ this week. And really the reason I took it is because of that above average daily volume print. So we will see if we get continuation on the volume side, because we talk about it all the time. Book talks about it all the time. Volume is so ultra important to our plan and to our process each and every week, right? So that is the SQ swing plan. As far as the next kind of major chart I'm going to be looking at this week, I've mentioned it already, but Tesla is going to be of the utmost focus for me this week, guys. It looked like we may have had Elon in the tape finally taking some exposure off of his, obviously position, right? He has a lot of his net worth in these Tesla shares, and he just did the Twitter acquisition. I was expecting to see a Form 4 filed last week. We didn't see that. Maybe we saw him selling on Friday. It looked like midday. A lot of really big asks on the level 2, and we may have finally seen him in the tape. So if that is facts, then we may have a continued downside move if he has to sell on a day 2 on Monday. So I'm going to be watching this 200 area very closely, as is the entire world, it seems like, in the trading sector. This 200 level is so important. If we see a move below, we'll likely see a move down to that 178 support on the weekly chart, which has been such a key area as far as, longer term support, guys. This is another area where valuations have not reset completely. And so I do think there is some nice downside potential here under this level. But remember, this is a bigger demand area on those larger time frames. So really have to let that trade kind of develop and then just take advantage of that momentum on the downside. So that is going to be a focus for me this week, guys. I apologize. I'm resisting the urge to sneeze right now. I've had some horrible allergies this past week. I guess the change of seasons is kind of getting to me a little bit. But like I said, guys, that 200 level is going to be very key. As far as the daily chart goes, this 205 to 207 area, obviously a big kind of support zone, demand area. If we see this area start to roll over, I think Elon's selling could push us down sub this area. We will see if that holds true, but this is going to be my top short focus coming into this week. If we were to see a push to the upside, I would be looking to fade any real test of this 215 area. This was a pretty key support, guys. If we were to retest this 214.90 area, the A+ setup for me this week on Tesla is going to be a retest of 214.90 and then fading it off that level, guys. We are definitely in still a bear market tape, especially in large cap tech. So coming into this week, the A+ setup for me is going to be playing a rejection off of that prior support turned into new resistance. And we talk about that all the time, guys, but that is the A+ setup for me in this market. And in a market where you have more limited liquidity, I like playing those retests of, old support turned new resistance and then taking the short side opportunity off that. Those are my A+ setups in this market, guys, and ones that I really enjoy taking advantage of. And like I said, there was big put flow on the 185 puts for this coming week. So definitely a name post midterms, especially. I would not be surprised to see a bounce Monday, Tuesday, and then, kind of look to fade that on Tuesday morning if we are sitting around that 214.90 level. So that is going to be the A+ setup for me this week on Tesla. I've referenced the larger time frame support, but again, that's why I'd rather play that resistance off of that old support turned into new resistance. Okay, so we've covered the Tesla short side idea. Again, another name with just pure relative weakness as of late is going to be Apple. One thing I do want to reference on Apple, Snap Your Charts posted a fantastic example of this on his Twitter. If you do not follow him already, you should. He's a great technical trader, one of the better minds inside the Discord too. He's very, very talented, guys, and he posts some really good stuff. So, if you see him in the room, he's always answering questions and helping people out. So big shout out to Snap. He posted this. I saw it. I'm going to mention it because it's a great point. But he posted the inverse chart of Apple, right? And it looked like a bearish rejection. And then he was like, well, guess what? This is the inverse chart of Apple. And he's right that we're seeing this kind of exact wick down to this 134 level, which is a level that I did mention on Friday. I played Apple puts for this coming week on Friday briefly. And then I closed out around that 135 area. So that 134 has kind of illustrated big support. This has been one of the weakest names, guys. This is a very bearish weekly candle. However, in the very short term, I would not be surprised to see a bounce into this 143 to 145 area. It's something that I'm going to be watching early on this week. Again, that may be also why we saw kind of QQQ and SPY print those daily candles that we saw on Friday with a kind of bullish wick, was we saw Apple rebound all the way up above this key 137 weekly support level. So the fact that we closed the weekly candle over that 137 area is very, very important, and I think it's going to be a big thing coming into this week ahead. I'm going to be watching that 137 to 136.8 level very, very closely on Apple, using that as kind of like my versus level, right? I say that all the time. What do I mean by that? Well, versus a certain level, okay, well, I am long versus the 136 or long side bias. Don't have to be in the trade, but just watching it, I'm saying, okay, I'm long side bias versus, this 136.8 area, right? And then, if it's under that level, right, on those larger time frames, I can be, bearish versus 136.60 on the hourly. So that's kind of what I mean when I say I'm versus a certain level. It works both ways, and definitely something I'm going to be watching early into this week. Sorry, guys. There's that allergy intermission right there. All right, so as far as other names that I'm going to be watching, right? So really, like I said, the A+ setup for me on Apple, I'm not going to look to trade Apple long because of the fact that it's such a relatively weak name. My really only focus here is going to be on the short side, and that's going to be on a continued fail sub 136.6. But as far as the broader market goes, this is an important chart to understand because it is so integral to the larger indices that we have to pay attention and understand where Apple is at on a technical perspective, right? So very important. A couple other names that I want to watch. We do have a lot of growth earnings this week. We have TTD, Roblox, etc. A lot of those really growthy names reporting this week. A lot of those names are extremely beaten down post last week just because a lot of those names really had a tough time. So like I said, a couple names that I do want to watch into this week. One of them is going to be TTD, right? We do have earnings upcoming on Wednesday. I think this presents a very nice opportunity headed into earnings. We are entering a big demand area at this 42 to like $40 area. We've seen a lot of buyers step in at this zone historically, right? Even going all the way back to May, we've seen buyers step in consistently in this really $6 to $7 zone. So we closed the weekly candle right at that 46 area. If we were to see kind of, a run up into earnings, I think the risk reward here is fantastic alongside. As out of all the growth names, I think a retest of this weekly downtrend resistance and a bounce off of demand as we head into earnings is a really high probability setup. This is going to be a trade idea. I would be looking at the $50 calls for this week to play the run up into earnings and then kind of reference where we are going in. They reported a very strong quarter last quarter. You may remember if you were in the room, but I very rarely play earnings. I did on this name, and we actually took, I think, they ended up being like 8 or 900% on that earnings trade. We took the 55 calls, which were in the money already. I think they went from like 3 to like 19 or something insane like that. So that was on that big candle right here at the in the middle of August that tested 76. So again, I think that this is a really nice opportunity. Head into earnings on Wednesday. It's definitely going to be a name that I'm looking at. Again, the November 11th $50 calls are what I'm going to be looking at. And then, like I said, I think they're trading at like 3 something currently. I think that presents a nice value for a possible run up into earnings. So definitely something I'm going to be looking at this week. Again, they are the strongest fundamental name in the ad space, and I think that'll offer a pretty nice opportunity as we head into the middle of this week. It's also a nice trade idea, guys. I say this all the time, but on weeks where we have major macro catalysts and we may see some chop, I come to trade opportunities like this to kind of, seek safe haven, right? If SPY, QQQ are super choppy, I'll look at something like an earnings run up on TTD where I have IV already working for me in my favor. And that's a great way to kind of find an A+ setup in an otherwise choppy overall market. So like I said, going to be watching that very closely as we head into this week. And like I said, the $50 calls for 1111 are my trade idea. One other name that I do want to mention, Dash, DASH, really nice food name, good earnings, really strong relative weekly volume. I'm going to be watching the 57 break. If this breaks upside, which I'm not saying it's going to, again, we have not been seeing these setups validate. This has a pretty smooth path to like 70, 72 plus. So I'm watching really closely, guys. If we get a 57 break upside, I am going to be all over this. We had some very, very bullish flow come in on Dash on, I believe it was on Friday. We had some very bullish flow come in on Dash. I will post that under the watch list for this week. We had very bullish flow on Dash at the end of the day on Friday. They were targeting, I believe, the $70 calls for December. I'm going to be watching this 57 break extremely closely for continuation on the upside. And like I said, set a price alert and then take advantage. That's this type of setup. I'm not going to try to get in, and front run the trade itself because those haven't been validating. What I'm going to be looking at is, hey, set that price alert. If the trade presents itself, that's when you take advantage of it. And that is this type of setup to a T. So 57.16 is the level I'm paying attention to. That is what I am looking for in terms of further upside continuation. And like I said, if we see a move over 57.16, I think we get that 68.42, maybe even 80 level on some type of kind of bigger move. And I'm only saying that because of the weekly volume. This is one of our largest weekly volume weeks ever outside of that kind of February area, right? This is the second largest weekly volume it's seen. Really healthy candle, guys. So again, out of those growth setups that are out there, this is one that really, really intrigues me at this price point. So going to be watching very closely on DoorDash coming into this week. Had a nice earnings report. I think this should offer a nice opportunity. And then the last name I do want to cover quickly, guys, I'm going to mention Coinbase here. Again, this is the weekly candle does not look fantastic here. This looks definitely more like a bearish weekly candle. However, if we draw that trend line from the bottom in what was that? The middle of May, right? I think you're stretching it here a little bit. I was more relying on that uptrend starting more in July. However, I could see an area in which this validates, right? I think a lot of people have been playing it off that kind of trend it was building. I'm just saying I'm going to watch it here. I think this will provide a really big trade opportunity soon. Probably post CPI, but watching the tape Monday into Tuesday, guys, again, I think this presents a nice opportunity as we head into the week ahead. Those premiums have reset very nicely, and I think, like I said, it's worth at least keeping an eye on. It is not going to be a focus name for me this week, but I will be watching the tape Monday and Tuesday per usual, and I really want to get a feel to see if maybe we had a lot of shorts jump in on Friday. Maybe they decide to squeeze out coming into this week. We'll have to see how Bitcoin reacts, obviously, but I think this is a name worth keeping on the radar at this level. So, like I said, guys, my scan this week was way more centered on those mega cap tech names. I gave a couple of growth trade ideas that I do like with SQ, Dash, TTD. coming into this week, guys, it's really all about the preparation you're putting in on Sunday and on the weekend. And then, like I said, that's going to translate over into the P&L on Monday. So like I said, guys, this market is about doing what you can with what is given, not trying to do too much. Don't try to make this market something it isn't. When the market does heat up even more and presents those crazy opportunities, it's going to be fantastic. Right now, my focus is really nailing those 2 or 3 high confidence setups per day and then moving on, right? That's got to be the focus right now. So again, into midterms this week, into CPI, we have a lot ahead of us. It should be a really fantastic week, and I cannot wait to take advantage of it with you guys. This is historically one of the better weeks for the stock market in terms of volatility, so I am very excited to take advantage of the week ahead with you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. Go watch some football, hang out with some family and friends. Enjoy the nice weather. It's beautiful here. And like I said, let's come to the desk absolutely focused and ready to go crazy this upcoming week. Second week in November. Let's get after it. Thanks for watching the Sunday Scan, guys. I'll see you bright and early on the Pre-Market Live. Peace.